Hello and welcome to Sunset Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our special election series, Battleground 2021. Now, the coming day, that is, if you're looking at these elections, it is going to be really, really important in these 4 states and the Union Territory as well. In our last shows during the previous week, we spoke about the political parties, specifically the BJP and the Congress and their prospects in these elections in these particular states. Looking at the ground situation, today we're going to focus on the state of Kerala and West Bengal as well. And the idea here is to talk about the left front, which has been in power in Kerala for the last 5 years and which obviously held a lot of ground in the state of West Bengal, but has been sidelined by Mamata Banerjee-led TMC in the past 10 odd years. What will be the situation on the ground? What will be the prospects for them in these 2 states specifically, and obviously the other states as well, where they are contesting along with other ally partners as well. Let's now first take a look at the situation in the state of West Bengal and Kerala, both specifically. And let's try and understand as to how the left front has, seemed to be fighting the upcoming elections and what exactly are the figures which talk about the left front's performance. Now, the CPM-led front that was in power in the state of West Bengal for 34 years until 2011 has handed over the poll baton to more young candidates now. In Kerala, the LDF seemingly is going to slug it out to retain its hold on power in a state which is known to push the ruling party out every 5 years. If you have to understand the ground situation, then in 2011 assembly elections, the left front won 62 seats with a vote percentage of around 41. In 2014 general elections, the left party won just 2 seats. Talking about the 2016 assembly elections, the party had won 32 assembly seats and the vote percentage was around 26. In the general elections of 2019, the left front was reduced to fringe forces as they did not bag any seats, and that's about the 2019 Lok Sabha elections out there. So let's try and understand first about West Bengal. We'll then come to the state of Kerala as well and try and understand the ground situation there. Let me introduce our 2 experts today who are with us. Sandeep Phukan is joining us. He's the deputy editor with The Hindu. He's somebody who's covered the left front extensively during his journalistic career. We are also joined by Ganapathy Subramaniam, senior journalist. Let me begin with you, Sandeep, first, since we're talking about the state of West Bengal and left front's prospects out there. One, what's the ground situation? Seemingly, the left front has, made a sort of a change in its tactics out there. We see a lot of young faces being fielded.
That's right. I mean, that's a clear shift and a clear shift in strategy to try and attract young voters to have an image makeover, because generally the perception is that left front is a party of senior citizens. Is a front of senior citizens. It's not exactly a party. It's a combination of 4 parties in West Bengal. So clearly, it's aimed at an image makeover to catch the young vote. See, there is no denying the fact that there is ideologically, there is a strong left presence in West Bengal. But I repeat, ideologically, because they may not be voters. And if you see in recent times, the fight in Bengal is, at least in the last Lok Sabha elections, we saw that it was a direct fight between the BJP and the Trinamool Congress, the ruling party. And clearly the growth of BJP has been at the expense of the left front and their core voters. So that is something that the left will be really worried about. They really have to, you mentioned about left being, remember West Bengal used to be called a red fort because, red is the color of the left. And they held that for 34 years before it gave way to Mamata Banerjee's rule, and now for 2 successive elections, Mamata Banerjee has ruled the left. So for another election, if they lose relevant or their relevance in some doubt. I wouldn't say irrelevant, but obviously, I mean, it'll be an existential fight, political existential fight, politically for the left front in West Bengal, and that's why they have tied up with the Congress. They have shared about 92 seats. They have also included the Indian Secular Front, of Abbas Siddiqui. So clearly, they are trying to create a grand alliance where they can at least emerge, make it a three-corner fight instead of being a two-corner straight BJP versus Trinamool Congress fight. They want to make it a three-corner fight, and clearly, as I see it, the best prospect for the left would be to expect a hung assembly where their support to Mamata Banerjee could make them once again sort of a kingmaker, a player in government formation where nobody gets enough seats, where Mamata Banerjee emerges as the single largest party, but she needs the help of either the left or the Congress.
Okay.
That would perhaps be the best scenario for the left. At the moment, going into battle, no left leader will ever tell you that that is an opportunity that they are even looking at. They will obviously, I mean, no general goes into a fight by admitting that, they could well lose the battle. But they also calculate post-battle scenarios, and this is one of the scenarios I would imagine they would calculate.
Okay. Definitely there, Sandeep, and as you're pointing out, the electoral fortunes of left has undergone a lot of slide with this particular analysis itself, that the front, which rather, ruled over the state for more than 3 decades, now might be hoping for an hung assembly just to have its, foothold or toehold rather in that power metrics there in the state of West Bengal. Existential fight for them, definitely. We'll talk more about West Bengal, and we'll talk more about the alliance as well between the left and the Congress as well. But let's first, give our viewers a bit of a sense of affairs in the state of Kerala. And in Kerala, the 2011 assembly election proved to be one of the closest ones in the history, with the UDF beating the LDF by a margin of 4 seats. Now, in 2014 Lok Sabha elections, the UDF and the LDF had shared the spoils in the state, winning 12 and 8 seats respectively. The LDF rode to power in the 2016 assembly elections as the party won 91 seats. In 2019 Lok Sabha elections, the left front managed to get just 1 seat in Kerala. Again, a slide in their fortunes out there. Mr. Ganapathy Subramaniam, I'd like to bring you in here. And let's understand, the situation of the left Democratic Front in the state of Kerala there. The history as well as the present situation. And let's not forget the metrics, the power metrics in Kerala, wherein the ruling party is voted out every 5 years.
Unlike West Bengal, where the Congress and left front are together, in Kerala, they are fighting against each other. And in the last Lok Sabha election, as you pointed out, the left front faced a massive defeat. Even though they were in power in the state government, they suffered a big defeat at the hands of the Congress, and they blame the Rahul Gandhi factor for that. Rahul Gandhi contesting in the Wayanad constituency of Kerala in the Lok Sabha elections, they think that it swung the votes in favor of the Congress and against the left front. Before the elections, you know how the Congress, the BJP and the left front were taking different positions on the Sabarimala issue. While the left and the BJP were pitted against each other, the benefit in the election that followed went to the Congress. The Congress took away all the seats from the left front, leaving them with only 1 seat. Now the situation is changing again. BJP has brought in Metro Man Sridharan as its prime candidate, and chances are that both left and the Congress will face a major challenge from the BJP, because as Metro Man Sridharan is supposed to enjoy a very good reputation as a very honest administrator. Same kind of honesty in politics, if it is appreciated by the people of Kerala, then the BJP is going to get a major benefit from it. So therefore, apart from the contradiction with the Congress alliance in one state and fighting in another state, anti-incumbency and Sridharan factor of the BJP are major challenges for the left, and the BJP is trying to use this opportunity to make major gains in Kerala.
Okay, okay. But Mr. Subramaniam, one more aspect when we look at the LDF and the state of Kerala is obviously the issue of corruption. That seemingly looks like the LDF is finding it difficult to rub that off.
Of course, the gold smuggling scam, chief minister's office involved, cases filed against the very senior officer working with the chief minister, and then very sensational revelations coming. The state government and forces which are outside the country being involved in the case, they are all major damage for the left front. And the Congress has also been very hard in attacking the left front in the management of COVID-19. If you know very well that Kerala is among one of the states which has the highest number of COVID infections.
Okay.
The Congress says that the left government has completely failed in controlling the COVID situation. Also, the gold smuggling scam is also being hit out by the Congress and the BJP alternatively. So therefore, anti-incumbency, gold scam, COVID situation, there are many challenges for the left, and the BJP is trying to use it to the maximum, while the Congress is hoping that because of all these issues, power will by default come to the Congress, like the situation in the Lochab election, where they managed to win more number of seats than they expected.
Okay, okay. But do you think that, one lifeline for LDF might be the rising internal squabbling within the Congress?
Of course, you are very right. Within the Congress, there is major infighting going on, and you saw that how PC Chako resigned last week and very clearly cited the internal differences. Various camps within the Kerala Congress are fighting for their seats, and in Kerala, you know that it is not one single party which captures power, whether it is the left front or the Congress front. There are many number of small parties involved. So it's a very internally very intriguing kind of politics which they do, and the Congress is not able to control the situation. Especially they are hoping that Rahul Gandhi, being an MP from Wayanad, will try and control the situation. But so far that has not happened, and it's very damaging for the Congress.
Okay, okay. Let me now bring back, Sandeep here. Sandeep, Mr. Subramaniam referred to one contradiction here when we're talking about both Congress and the left front, sort of a dichotomy which manifests itself in the state of West Bengal, and you also earlier referred to the concept of ideology in the state there. Now, interestingly, and this has been happening for quite some time now, it is not new to this election, that two major parties which are leading to, rival alliances down south are fighting together in the state of West Bengal. How do you think these differences are reconciled on an ideology basis and on a strategy basis as well?
Well, I mean, because politics in both these two states are so intense, that is why sort of this contrast throws up. People both in Bengal, I mean, I've covered politics in both these states, and I can tell you that both of them are really committed. If you talk to political workers in these states, no matter which party they belong to, but they are so committed to their party, their ideology, their sense of belonging. That's why you see this contrast. But such contrast exists in other states with other parties as well. Look at, just for an example, I'll give you an example. JDU, except that brief period when Janata Dal United was part of the Grand Alliance in Bihar, it has largely been an ally of the NDA and the BJP. But, perhaps very few people know that JDU has an existence in the northeastern state of Manipur. And they are separate from the BJP. BJP is in power, and JDU has a completely different existence and part of the opposition in that state. So, BJP is the ruling party in Manipur. So there you see a contradiction between BJP and JDU when it comes to Bihar and Manipur. So I'm just giving you an example. But this is not the first time, by the way, when you see this contradiction. Even last time you mentioned that last time the LDF just about scraped through. They had, I think, 4 or 5 MLAs more than the UDF in Kerala. But in Bengal, again, they had an alliance and exactly on the same number of seats. 92 seats were contested by the Congress party within the left front in West Bengal. And I think they had won 44. Subsequently, of course, many of these Congress MLAs defected to the Trinamool and went and joined the Trinamool. So, these contradictions always exist. But as I said, that in West Bengal, where the Congress has been largely, Congress has its strong pocket holes. Like Malda, for example, you had Ghani Khan Chaudhary and his family. So that's a sort of pocket borough of that Ghani Khan Chaudhary's family. So you had that, Dinajpur, North Dinajpur. These are seats where you have pockets of Congress influence. Otherwise, on its own, the Congress will not be a challenger. Again, let's say Murshidabad, from where the state president, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who's also the Congress leader in Lok Sabha, comes from. He has his own pocket of influence. But beyond that Murshidabad region, that has about 3 Lok Sabha seats, again, his influence is somewhat limited. And that is why you see that, they will need the left to consolidate the anti-Trinamool vote. And as we have seen, from 2016 assembly elections on to 2019 Lok Sabha elections, and now there has been a steady and almost a dramatic growth of the BJP. And obviously, this has been at the expense of all the parties, left Congress and Trinamool Congress as well. I mean, we've just seen in the last few days and weeks, just so many of these Trinamool leaders have, shifted and switched sides and joined the BJP. So, it's a tough election for all the 3 parties there. And BJP is obviously the gainer because, you have to see that they start from a very low base. So anything that they get is a surplus. I mean, and they have gone all out to win West Bengal. Battle of Bengal is really the key battle for the BJP in these elections. I'm not too sure. I mean, there is a lot of interest generated because of Metro Man, Mr. E. Sridharan, but I'm not sure whether BJP can really swing votes. But again, Kerala is a state where even a small swing of votes can completely change the elections.
Okay. And since you've covered the Kerala politics as well, Sandeep, do you believe that this time around we might see as intense and a close a contest as we witnessed in 2011 in the state of Kerala?
Most certainly. Most certainly, as Ganapathy sir was pointing out, it's very clear that Congress's attack, a game plan is to attack the LDF on 2 fronts. One is the gold smuggling case, because several top officials who were, associated with the Chief Minister's office, they were indicted, arrested, lots of sensational revelation. To that, of course, the left counter is that it is we who instituted the inquiry. It is the Chief Minister's office who instituted the inquiry. So we have nothing to fear. But, nonetheless, any scandal, any scam in the public domain is ammunition for the opposition party. That's one pole plank or weapon at the hands of the Congress or UDF. The other one is so-called mismanagement of, the reason I say so-called mismanagement of COVID. If you recall, in the earlier days of Corona, in fact, this Kerala model was a model that was talked about, how it contained testing and tracking and isolation. So it was a success story.
Okay.
But it is true that post-Onam, Kerala is among the states like Maharashtra and Kerala. These were 2 top states where the daily rate of infections for Corona was still fairly high. And that is the reason why the Congress is sort of attacking them. But Congress has its own share of problems. It's a divided house. You heard Mr. P.C. Chacko the other day saying that there is no Congress, there is a Congress I and a Congress A. I mean, Congress I traditionally refers to Mr. K. Karunakaran's faction, and A originally referred to Antony, but now Uman Chandi faction. So, factionalism is a huge problem. And yes, Rahul Gandhi, being a member of parliament from Wayanad in Kerala, one would have hoped that he may have been able to stop it. But as I said, that politics is fought very intensely in these states. And so, yeah, I mean, he's not been able to stop it.
Okay, indeed, there it is about the state of Kerala, as both Sandeep and Mr. Subramaniam are pointing out. Woes of one political party might be beneficial to the other there, but let's wait and watch as to what happens in Kerala. Before I move on to Mr. Ganapathy once again, let's take a look at another southern state where the left front has a bit of a presence, and that's Tamil Nadu. In 2011 assembly elections, the left front won 19 seats. Now, the party's vote share, which swung between 5 to 6% since 1967, dwindled to merely 1% in 2014, and the same was repeated in 2016 Lok Sabha elections as well. Mr. Subramaniam, if you're looking at the neighboring state of Kerala, that is Tamil Nadu, and the left front's prospects out there, in the present situation, in the given condition, how would you go ahead and analyze it? Also, given the fact the way their electoral fortunes have dwindled in the state.
See, in the Tamil-speaking states of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, even though Puducherry is a union territory, it has an elected assembly, the left front does not have any role in Puducherry at all. There it is a fight between the Congress, the BJP, the DMK and the AADMK. In Tamil Nadu, the left front is completely banking on the DMK. DMK is the prime opposition, and all the other parties, including the Congress, are banking on the power of the DMK engine to win them seats. None of them will be able to make any major impact in Tamil Nadu if they contest alone. So therefore, they are all together with the DMK, Congress, the left parties, and a number of other small parties. So therefore, on the strength of this alliance, they managed to win seats in the 2019 Lok Sabha election. But then that election was fought in Tamil Nadu on a very anti-Modi plank. That cannot be repeated again, because that was the Lok Sabha election. There they tried this strategy. But in the assembly election, it will be the chief minister and the incumbent government that will be the main issue. So therefore, it is not possible that they will get the same kind of returns in the assembly election as well. And very importantly, the point that the Congress as well as the left front are into this alliance shows their lack of confidence. See, in West Bengal also, they have an alliance with the Congress. But then look at the CPI-ML. The CPI-ML is fighting it alone in West Bengal. It has not formed any alliance with the Congress and the left. Because in the Bihar assembly election, the CPI-ML had a very good strike rate. Everybody was saying that the performance was good. So they are confident and they are fighting separately. As Sandeep, being a senior journalist, pointed out, how each state, every party has a different kind of a strategy.
Definitely.
But the lack of confidence shows in both Tamil Nadu and as well as West Bengal, because neither the Congress nor the left parties are a major force in these two states.
Okay, definitely. From winning 19 seats in 2011 assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, just contesting 6 seats now as part of that alliance with the DMK and the Congress in the state, clearly speaks volumes about the electoral graph of the left front in the state. Thank you so much, Mr. Ganapathy Subramaniam, as well as Sandeep Phukan, for sharing your inputs and insight with our viewers. As our panelists were pointing out, these assembly elections are very crucial for the left front, specifically in the states of Kerala and West Bengal, while it is an existential crisis for the left front in West Bengal. And in Kerala, they would hope that that trend of the ruling party being voted out every 5 years does not hold this time around. Will be really, really interesting to see as to what happens in all these states and specifically what are the electoral prospects for the left front. We'll come back again tomorrow and we'll talk about other parties as well, such as TMC, DMK and AIADMK, which are the major players in these elections in some of these states. Till then, keep watching Sunset Television. Thank you.